Go ahead anytime you want.
Okay. Well, welcome everyone. First off, my name's Larry. You finally get to put a face to the name. If I look a little uptight and nervous, well, it's because I am. It's our first time doing this, and I'm not usually talking on camera. So, want to welcome you. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you learn something. We're going to try and do an episode every so often, and we're going to cover different aspects of solar and IFLA batteries. I know a lot of you guys are wondering, what the hell is an IFLA battery? It stands for an industrial flooded lead acid battery. It's a forklift battery. To our friends on the other side of the pond, they're known as traction batteries. But that is an IFLA right here. It is out of a forklift. That was two 36 volt 800 amp hour pack. We broke it down and we have wired it to be three 24 volt 800 amp hour packs. So we have 57 kilowatt hours of usable energy at 24 volts. Now, we have less than $1,000 in those. We actually have less than 900 bucks. And we will go over ways to how you can find yours too. There are several ways you can do it, obviously. A lot of times you can pick them up for core price, and we will touch on how to do that, or what steps you need to go through to be able to find one. I'll tell you right now, it's a little bit of work though. Okay, now these have been used since the 70s in solar installations, and they've been the gold standard. And quite frankly, they still are today. Lithium polymer really can't, I'm sorry, Life PO4. I fly a lot of radio controlled, so I call everything lipos. But Life PO4, you know, everybody out there tells you that these only have a 50 to 80% discharge rate. And look, I don't know if they're wrong, if they're uneducated, if they just don't know what they're talking about. That's our bird, Snooki. My wife loves her birds. What is he, baby? A blue fawn?
He's a blue fawn macaw.
He's a blue fawn macaw. He's huge. But we'll get him on camera at some point. These have been the gold standard in solar installation since the 1970s. In my world, they still were, and they actually still are. You know, if you do some comparisons, everybody on all these solar boards try and tell you that these only have a 50 to 80% depth of discharge. And look, I don't know if they don't know what they're talking about, if they're straight up lying, if they're just ignorant, or what is going on here, but it's not true. And don't take my word for it. Look it up. These are rated for 100% depth of discharge of rated capacity every day, every single day, day in, day out. They are very heavy duty built. They work in very heavy industry, and they're in some of the harshest environments, and they have to survive those environments. Now, imagine the easy life you can give them at your home. They will last decades. They've been proven to last decades by actually lasting decades. I still have not seen a Life PO4 last decades. Have you? Maybe there's one out there. I don't know. But I haven't seen it. I do know I see a lot of people really complaining about the warranties not being honored on their Life PO4 coming out of China. So, only the future will tell us. Nothing in the world wrong with Life PO4. You got the money, you like the newest, the greatest stuff, knock yourself out. I am sure you'll be perfectly happy with it. Me, we do things on a budget. Okay, it's as simple as that. We're a single income family. Our daughter lives with us. Her husband lives with us, that is Stephen. I'm sure you'll meet him at some point in time. Okay, we're not out here making a bunch of money. So we have to do the best we can do with what we get. Okay? So I acquire a lot of stuff. You know, we horse trade for it. I rent dumpsters. You know, we go to, generally, most people go shopping in a store, and we need something, we go find dumpsters. But that's a whole other story somewhere along the line. Why are you laughing, baby? Anyways, let's get back on track here. The IFLA rated at 100% depth of discharge, okay? And you can do that day in, day out with harming it or degrading its performance. They are absolutely incredible batteries. And I'm telling you, you could do a setup like this, you're not going to want your life PO4. You can charge these things at a higher amp rate, you can discharge them at a higher amp rate, and you can do it over and over and over again. It is not unusual for us to be pulling 400 amps through our system and off these batteries for a couple hours at a time, okay? No problem. No problem whatsoever. They will give you their rated capacity. Now, where can you get one of these bad boys? That's a good question. I often wondered that myself. And to be honest with you, I worked on forklifts for a few years. I was a mobile forklift guy. And I got my fingers cut off the first time from that, but that's a whole other story in itself. And we'll go over the second time they got cut off too. But there's a couple different ways you can get these. I'm always looking for the best bargain for the money out there. If you don't mind being a little bit of a salesman and going knocking on some doors, okay? Go to these places that are factories, areas of production, okay? Shipping yards, junk yards, recyclers, warehouses, big, small, and medium. Any place that has a forklift. Look, you go in, you ask who takes care of the forklift stuff. You go talk to them. You say, hey, next time you have a bad battery, could I buy it off you for a quart? Look, most of them are going to say no, slam the door in your face and get you the hell, tell you to get the hell out. That's great. Move on to the next person. You do this enough, you will find somebody who will sell you an IFLA that is a core to them, because they're getting a new one, for what it is worth, which is about scrap price, which you should know. That way you can base what you're paying on that. Okay. Someone will sell you them for core price. And the beautiful thing about that is just because it's no good to them in their forklift anymore, man, that doesn't mean it isn't great for you as it sits at home in your solar installation. Okay? They are incredible batteries. Just because they cannot produce at that point what they need and last for an 8-hour shift in that forklift pulling Lord knows how many hundreds of amps. Okay? Doesn't mean it's not great for a house. You're never going to notice the degradation on that pack running a solar system. So, very well likely you could take it home, hook it up, and use it, even though it is no good for them. Now, here's the beautiful part of this, and we're not going to go too deep into this in this video. I'm just going to touch everything we're discussing here. We're going to go back, and we're going to get into in depth, okay? You know, how my system's hooked up, which, as most of you know, is definitely not by the book or to code. We have an off-grid system. Does not tie into any grid whatsoever. So, you know, you guys know, we will get into that at some point in time. And we're going to touch into a lot of questions have been asked. How do we charge them off the grid? Because a lot of people don't have the PV to do what they need to do with these. But we'll get into building a charger out of a welder in another video. Actually water bathing these, which is what I was talking about, which is just a very basic form of refurbishing a lead acid battery. Okay, and we're going to do a whole video on this. As soon as I get some other cells that I can actually videotape me water bathing, we'll make a video series on that and show you guys how we do it. Okay? But that's the next step. Once you take it home, if you want to use it the way it is because it works, it's just a little low on capacity, great, use it. You'll probably get another decade out of it before you have to touch it. But you can refurbish it if you want with a simple water bath, and we will go over that. Yeah, this is another great thing about IFLAs. These things are rated at a C6 rating. Okay? What that means is, take your amp hours, divide it by 6. That battery will provide you that many amps for 6 hours. I believe these are 800, so I think, 133 amps for 6 hours is what the 6-hour rate is on these. Now, The great thing about that is, and this is why many of you who have followed me, I will always make the statement that I get more than the rated capacity. We get more than 57 kilowatt hours. And people on other boards are like, oh, you're a liar, you can't be doing that. Well, yes, you can. What they don't understand is, this is a C6 rated battery. You know, look, not that we don't pull 133 amps per rack, okay? But that's not the going rate. Most of you guys aren't going to pull that either, okay? These are the 20 amp, what's called a C20 rate, which is what the vast majority of solar batteries are rated at. A C20 rate, which is a 20-hour rate, not a 6-hour rate. So, what that means is, and this is why I'm saying you can use a degraded pack and you will never notice if it's down a little bit on capacity. The true rating on an 800 amp hour C6 pack in solar use, look, I don't know what the exact number is going to be, but it's going to be 1200 amp hours. Okay, it's going to be up there. So, let's say you buy one of these packs, it's a core, and a C20 rating originally was like 1200 amp hours. You're already thinking 800 amp hours, you pull 900, you're loving life, you're getting more out of the pack than it's rated for, okay? And the reality is, because they're rated at a C6 rating, not a C20 rating, okay? So that is just one of the absolutely best things about these packs. You can go most lithium boards. Nobody will believe you that you get more than the rating of the pack out of them. And it's because they simply do not understand the C6 versus C20 and what an IFLA is, or better known as the forklift battery. It is one badass battery for a solar installation. Okay guys, you know, once you secure one, that's what we were going over, okay. That is the way I acquired our packs. Now, a much easier way, but it's going to be more expensive, is you can actually get on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, eBay even, and you can buy a used forklift battery. Okay, you can get them for a good price. You know, you can buy a 48 volt, a lot of times a 48 volt, 8 to 1100 amp hour pack that's in pretty good shape for 900 to 1500 bucks. You know, it will be easier to find them that way. You need to, if you're going to spend more than scrap price on them though, look, take a few minutes and at least check the cell voltage on all of them, okay? Excuse me. Make sure none of the cells are shorted out. You don't want to pack with shorted out cells unless you're buying a 36 and you're going to build a 24 or something like that, and you're going to have extra cells left over anyways. Then it really doesn't matter, because if you get a 48 volt pack, look, I can't guarantee it, but I find it hard to believe you're going to have that many shorted cells in there. But, you know, I haven't experienced everything. I base everything on what we've done around here, okay? And now, an even easier way to get your forklift battery, you can jump on Google and Google yourself up a forklift battery, reconditioned, okay? Pay for it online and they will ship it to you. Of course, it's more expensive, okay? But you have a fully reconditioned battery. And there again, keep in mind, these people aren't really about solar. So if you're going to take that route, you need to educate yourself on what you want and what you need, okay? So when you call them up, you can say, hey, I need a price on a 48 volt, 1100 amp hour battery. Okay, because if you say solar, their heads will probably explode. I don't know, I've gotten a deer in the headlight look every time I've mentioned solar around a forklift place. But, so make sure you know what you want if you're going to go that route. And reconditioned batteries, company industry standard is, they say it retains 80% of their rating. So, to make this easy, 1000 amp hour originally, they're going to guarantee you 800 amp hours. Guess what? That's 800 amp hours at a C6 rating. So you still are going to have more there than the pack was originally rated for at a C20 rate. Okay? This is why these are such beautiful batteries for home solar installations. I don't know why these are not talked about on all the other boards out there, okay? To me, they were common sense. You know, little background, how I ended up starting the board that you guys belong to, and thank you for belonging, I appreciate it. My poor wife, been about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I showed up with a forklift battery that I acquired. Of course, I'm jumping around like a little kid because I always made the statement, you know, if I ever got a forklift battery, I'd build a solar system. So I show up with this, one of these packs. There's actually two here to remember. I have acquired another one along the way. Brought the first pack home, and man, we really didn't know what we were going to do with it. It was quite entertaining. My wife kind of shook her head a little bit, but I got a great wife. She stood behind me and said, "Baby, time to build that solar system." And that's kind of how all this got started and kicked off. Now, another easy way to get your battery, and it could be real pricey, I would say upwards of $10,000 to $15,000. Simply order yourself a brand spanking new one. Most likely last your lifetime. You know, I know a lot of people spend a whole lot of money on Life P04. Okay, I could never afford to do that. It's just not happening. But you can order these brand new. You know, Google. Type in their forklift battery on Google. Okay, you'll kick them up. GB, I think is one of them. I'd have to look. I check on them all the time. I'm always trying to find some batteries and see what I can locate. Hey, we're gonna go over some inverter stuff too in these videos. So, if you guys, whatever you guys want to see me talk about, hey, post it down there and we'll get to it. So, you got this great forklift battery. Let's say you went to 15 factories. You've had 10 people slam the door on your face. You've had 8 of them laugh at you. 9 of them kicked, or 1 of them kicked you out, and 1 of them took pity on you. They're like, yes, you can have our forklift battery, buddy. All right, great, I got me a forklift battery. Now what are we going to do? Well, you're going to have to get it home, okay? And you better hope they can load it there. In most places, if you're going to get a forklift battery, obviously has a forklift, so they can load it. Can you put it in the back of your truck? Look, I haul 2 or 3 of them in the back, but we got a Super Duty Ford F-250 diesel, okay? We haul 3 of them back there, and the truck doesn't even flinch. I don't know if you can put them in a quarter-ton, half-ton pickup truck. I'm sure you could. It's just you're going to be, you know the deal. You're going to be squatted down pretty hard. So, you get them home, and then you realize, wait a minute. These people loaded this up with a forklift. I have now driven it home. I have a forklift battery, but no forklift to unload it with. What are we going to do? We'll actually cover this in the video too, but I'm going to break it down for you. If you look on an IFLA battery, you're okay where you're at. Okay? They are joined together by big bars. I believe they're lead. Big lead bars. Okay? They cut apart real easy. Okay? And they're really strong. So we will get, I told you, next pack I get, we're going to videotape breaking it down, pulling it apart, water bathing it, and we'll get it all up. The basics of what you do, once you get it home and realize you don't have a forklift to unload it, you cut those bars. You take a rope, okay, and you wrap it around the post, okay? If you guys are looking, I know you know what I'm talking about. You wrap it around the post on the cell, okay? We use it come along in a tree, you know, engine hoist, you know, whatever you have. Make it work with what you got, guys. This is not about going out and spending hordes of money. Anybody can do that. Okay, anybody can spend $120,000 and have 30 kilowatts of solar power. Not a problem. You can do that in this day and age. The trick is people like us. Okay, it ain't like we're out there knocking it dead in the money world. So how do we still live a good life? Well, we do it with a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of know-how, and some elbow grease. That's how we accomplish all of this. So, once you get your bars cut apart, you come along hooked up to it with the rope, okay? Excuse me, just had shoulder surgery. These cells are just compression fit into that metal case that you see them in, okay? What I like to do is I take some automatic transmission fluid and acetone, seems to work the best. You can use WD-40, BB Blast, or hell, use vegetable oil, it doesn't matter. Okay, just use something that's slicky. And you spray it down around the cells and, you know, start putting tension on that come along. Take a little rubber mallet and beat the metal case that's around it. And as you beat it, add the tension. That cell will come up and out of there, okay? Now, be careful though. That first cell comes out, second cell is easy, third cell is easy. But that case is divided. Okay, so you're gonna either have two groupings in there or more, depending on the voltage you have. Okay, and how big your pack is. So don't get all excited that you broke the one loose. That's great. Get them out of there. But in each section, you have to break that first one loose. But guys, do it. It's not that hard. I promise you that. Cut them apart. Get your rope around them, put a come along on them, an engine hoist, whatever you got, okay? Those cells will come out of there. Lube them up and start pulling, they'll pop out of there. And then, all you really have is this thing here, okay? Which, and be note, you're going to get a bulge. Once you take them out of the case, you will get a bulge in them, okay? It's the pure weight, they're not light. And which means it looks like they used some water. No, they didn't. You just have a bulge, so there's more in there. It has a higher volume now. So, these cells only weigh 100 pounds a piece, give or take. You know, whether you got 500 amp hour, whether you got 1100 amp hour, look, they're all going to be between about 80 and 120 pounds. But my point being, pretty manageable. Okay, most of us out here, look, it might require some effort to lift 100 pounds. But we can do it. Okay. And if you can't do it, you can find a way. You can get a hand cart. Put them on a hand cart. Now you can move it. Okay? Think about it, guys. Just work on how to do it. You know, you got leverage, hand carts, wheels. If you really want to build something like this and do it on the cheap, you've got to overcome obstacles. I mean, you have to. And weight should not scare you on these, okay? Well, unless you're driving around with them. You won't want to do that. In that case, I highly recommend Life PO4. But outside of that, if you're not mobile, don't let the weight scare you, okay? Once you set them up, are you going to move them? Are you moving your house? Does your house have wheels on it? I don't know. Mine doesn't. Used to, though, but doesn't anymore. So don't let weight scare you. You can break them down, you know, right around 100 pounds a piece. Much more manageable. Even if it takes you and a buddy, you can keep the string that you have on those posts, you can keep it there. Put a pole between it. You pick up one side, your buddy picks up one side. Take her where she needs to go. You're dealing with 50 pounds a piece on your shoulder. Not that hard. Do not let the weight scare you. Just because it weighs a ton when it's put together doesn't mean that's what you're going to move, okay? You just have to break it down and make it more manageable. So getting them moved into place, I know it sounds like a daunting task. I really do. It was for us. Okay, we're like, ugh. Now how are we going to do this? But we did it. We figured out a way, and so can you. Once you get them up in here, there's going to be some things you want to have if you're going to deal with these batteries. Okay, first of all, if you're so lazy that you think watering your batteries once every 3 or 4 months is just such horrible maintenance, you can get an auto water and you don't even have to do that. So, just keep that in mind. Once you get them home though, you need a couple tools. You want to have a couple tools with you to work on them, okay? One, look, get on Amazon, get on eBay, you know, or make a distiller, but get yourself a cheap reverse osmosis water filtration system, and they're pretty cheap, you know, for like 100, maybe 150 bucks. Okay, well worth the investment. Okay, or if you want to build a still for distilled water, knock yourself out. But point being, you want to start putting good water in these, and you want it to be pure water. They have, if you got them like I got them, they most likely have always had city water dumped in them, which would have bromamine in it, chlorine in it, you know, who knows what else. You'd think it would destroy them, but you really wouldn't. I think a lot of times that's why water bathing actually works on them, just gets rid of all that crud. But I am not a scientist. I can only tell you what has worked for us and how we've done it. So, you want to put good water in them, okay? Look, the investment for good clean water, whether it's coming out of reverse osmosis or whether it's coming something distilled, or you go buy distilled water, okay? It's just good practice with these batteries. You want to take care of them because I'm telling you, they will last you many, many, many years. This pack you see right here, okay? Let's see. I never have seen a date on it, but I'm making the assumption it's probably 15 years old before I got my mitts on it. So, this is proof that they do just keep going. Now, back to where we were. I'm going to have to stand up and reach around. You want this. This is a specific gravity checker. Now, be forewarned. When you have such a large cell like this, okay, you can have a fully charged reading and show water, pure water on one of these. You don't want to be checking these unless you've been able to bubble them. So which is just a controlled over voltage, and the bubbling actually mixes up all the acid again. Okay, so you don't want to rely so much on this. You want a consistent reading across the cells. I would not freak out if it shows a low specific gravity unless you have literally just equalized charged your pack for 4 or 5 hours, okay, at 30 to 31 volts. And they bubble like they're boiling. There's no doubt about it, okay? But then and only then are you going to get an accurate, specific gravity reading from any of these. And the reason being, the water goes to the top. That's the whole reason. So unless this is all mixed up, which is kind of difficult to do on stuff this size, okay, you're going to get a lower reading here than you actually have inside of this battery. So keep that in mind. But you do need one of these. Just you need to learn how to read it on your battery, not what everybody tells you it should say, unless you've done the equalized charge and got it mixed up well. Or you have a shaker table, which we're working on building one of those too, so that's going to be another video. Another item, a lot of you guys have heard me talk about this, and to be quite honest with you, I've tried to avoid talking about how I actually do water bathe these batteries, and that is simply because, well, it's not like I'm educated in this stuff, and we're just doing what we have found work for us after doing quite a few experiments last year. But, I'm not really a believer in a mechanic in a bottle, okay? But here I am with a mechanic in a bottle for a battery. This stuff is called thermal battery desulfator. Does it work? I don't know. Okay, here's what I know. When we were dealing with batteries last year, we were making salt batteries, alum batteries, the Epsom salt batteries, all this stuff trying to rejuvenate batteries. Okay, remember that, Stefan?
Yeah.
And everything seemed to give us voltage back. Okay, you know, we got all excited. Oh man, 12.5 volts off the charger. As soon as you try to hit it with an amp, as soon as you try to pull some amperage out of it, it dropped out. You had no amps. You got great voltage, no amps. And as most of us know, what is the voltage if you got no amps? That gets you nowhere. And I had ordered this stuff. It's not cheap. It's 20 bucks a bottle, 22 bucks a bottle. It's not cheap by any means. And we had, do you remember what battery that was, Stephen? It was your motorcycle battery,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah. We had a motorcycle battery that we put Epsom salt in, okay? And we had to reverse the polarity on it to get it to take a charge, blah, 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 blah. And I started with that battery, and I took this stuff in this battery that, you know, had voltage but no amperage. And we put, I put like quarter ounce, half ounce in each cell. We charged it overnight, and Stephen puts it on his four-wheeler, and the damn thing starts. We're like, now wait a minute here. So, you know, one thing leads to another, and we're like, oh man, that can't last for long. So he turns on his headlights. Oh, was it 20 minutes later?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20 minutes later, this battery's still starting a four-wheeler. And keep in mind, this is like a junk motorcycle battery that we found laying in the field on the property. Okay, so we're just like awestruck by it. But that, I made my mind up at that point that this goes in everything. It is kind of, it can be brutal if you're going to do a big pack because you put it in by weight. My batteries here work out to about 5 ounces a cell. So I only get like 2 cells out of a bottle, so that's like $10 a cell. It ain't cheap. But it's one of those things I use. You guys know I've mentioned it. I kind of hesitated about mentioning it because I do kind of consider it a mechanic in a bottle, but I was sold on it after the four-wheeler battery incident. And guys, I want to sincerely thank you for actually watching the first episode of The Gilley Show. We're hoping to keep this going and take it somewhere. If you learned something, if you liked it, if we benefited you in any way, consider donating $1 or $2 to us. It would go a long way. We want to keep this going, and I think we can do some good things here. So, you know, appreciate you guys watching. Spread the word, and subscribe and give us a like, and let's see what we can do here. You guys have a good night. Oh wait. Happy solaring.